Hi everyone. In today's video I wanted to go through the process of neurulation. This process occurs over days 17 to 27 in the formation of the fetus, and is basically the process that allows for the formation of the nervous system. Now, if you've seen my video on gastrulation, you would have noticed that we've last left off with the formation of the three basic germ layers. The ectoderm, which is responsible for the formation of the nervous system, the mesoderm, which is responsible for the formation of many things, including the dermis and other parts of the body, including the urogenital organs. And the endoderm is responsible for the formation of a lot of tubing around the body, including the respiratory tract and digestive tract. Now, neurulation mainly involves the ectoderm, as I mentioned earlier, as it is involved in the process of the formation of the nervous system. So how does neurulation start? Well, if we take for example the cavity which we had in gastrulation at the bottom, neurulation would sort of start with another part of that cavity projecting off in a sort of superior direction. Now within this cavity, we have, if we take a cross section of it, we have a little space here, and this space contains the bottom layer, which is the ectoderm. And actually the ectoderm would once again fold upwards. So that shape, if we don't take into consideration this cavity anymore, but only can take into consideration this part of the embryo, it will actually fold upwards as so. And there are special names given to this structure. So firstly, the two parts that fold upwards are called the neural folds. And the space in between them is called the neural groove. Now, this is quite an important stage, as it is essentially the first stage where we get a glimpse into the formation of the central nervous system. Eventually, what will happen is that the folds will essentially move in towards one another, like this, and they will fuse in order to form a cavity in the middle. And this cavity is called the neural tube. It also contains a special structure below it called the notochord. And the notochord, although not only involved in the central nervous system, is actually very important for the differentiation of cells, as it dictates, based on the distance that cells have from it, which cells they must specialize into. So, once the neural folds fuse with one another, there are actually some cells that break off from it. And these are what we called neural crest cells. And these neural crest cells are actually responsible for the formation of the peripheral nervous system. Now that this neural tube has been formed, eventually it will form at its caudal end, the spinal cord, and at its cranial end, the brain. But there must be a closure, as we can't just have an open tube on both sides of the central nervous system. So, say for example, if I was just to draw the tube here, both the cranial end, which is where the brain will form, and the caudal end, which is where the spinal cord will form, must close up. Because if they do not, if for example the rostral end or the cranial end doesn't close up, it will result in a condition called anencephaly, which is where essentially babies do not have a fully formed brain, and essentially as their neural tube is unable to close, and they are not able to survive for more than a few days. On the other hand, if the caudal end, which is a spinal cord, doesn't close properly, then we have a condition resulting called spina bifida. And spina bifida is when a certain part of the spinal cord is present outside of the body. So if you have a look at any photos of babies with spina bifida, you'll see that there is sort of a bulbous structure that is present outside of the skin of the baby, and that contains the spinal cord and some connective tissue that essentially means that they have some impaired function, usually in their legs, and it can also result in some cognitive disabilities. So that's basically the process of neurulation. If we were to quickly review it, we first start off with the ectoderm, which is this layer that will eventually form the nervous system. And all of this formation happens around between 17 to 27 days. Next, there will be the formation of neural folds, and these are basically folds in the ectoderm itself, and their folding nature will allow for the formation of a neural groove. After that, the neural folds in their movement towards one another will eventually fuse in order to allow for the formation of the neural tube, and also a structure beneath it called the notochord. And cells that jut out from the formation of the neural tube, which are called neural crest cells, will be responsible for the formation of the peripheral nervous system. And eventually by day 27, usually around day 25, the caudal and cranial ends must close properly in order to ensure that there aren't any central nervous system problems, including anencephaly, which is the lack of the formation of the brain, and spina bifida, which is when a part of the spinal cord is present outside of the body. I hope this makes sense. Thanks for watching.